thanks to Cipla Oncology for giving this talk. And We know that both the innovator molecule Herclone and Biceltis are now with the Cipla only. So as of now, we know in HER2 positive breast cancer, for the resident and oncologists who are practicing, we were having 2-3 molecules earlier: trastuzumab, lapatinib, and pertuzumab, and Kadcyla. So, with the availability of so many options and newer 2-3 more molecules are coming up, so issue comes. So, what is the sequence, best optimum sequence? Like nowadays, we discuss about the lung cancer. Since last 2 years, what is the optimum sequence of therapy in EGFR positive, ALK positive lung cancer metastatic? So now the here issue is for HER2 positive breast cancer metastatic, or even in locally advanced for neoadjuvant or adjuvant for that matter. So there are 4 trials which are fascinating and has been discussed in detail in this ESCO 2020 virtual meeting. And it is important for all the oncologists and residents because most of the slides we will be seeing in near future for another so many years to discuss all this data in detail. So all are relatively, not relatively, in fact, new data, new slides. So interesting data. So first of all, incidence and mortality worldwide. We all know breast cancer is the in very much higher percentage incidence wise, 11.6% world over, and out of these, around 50% are having mortality, 6.6%. And if you see the Indian data, both sexes together 14%, and roughly total patients are 1.15 lakh population. Both sexes, we know that male breast cancer is also there, but not so common. And if it's female, we see roughly around 27.7% breast cancer are there in females. So that makes the very reasonable thing to understand breast cancer therapy in detail. And moreover, if you see the biology of the cancer, in last few years, when we analyze the data from the Indians, from TMH study, RGCA study, or some other centers, and outside abroad, we are seeing that aggressiveness of the breast cancer tumors are increasing. In the sense, if we see the hormone receptor positivity, it is declining. HER2 positivity is rising. In the middle one, we are seeing globally it is 15 to 20%. India is showing up to 25%. And if we talk about TNBC, which is the most aggressive form, and globally it is again up to 20, and India it's showing 25%. So this is very good slide to predict, to show, just to show how much aggressiveness of the breast cancer is changing in our country. Today we will restrict our talk to particularly HER2 positive breast cancer in different scenario. We all know that it is the most aggressive subtype among all 3-4 subtype of the breast cancer because it has got early relapse and visceral involvement is also there. That is, which is more common. Poor prognosis, less responsive to chemotherapy, and it is accounts for 15 to 20% of all breast cancer cases. They have short disease-free survival and overall survival compared to other subtypes. And moreover, nowadays HER2 targeted therapy had dramatically changed outcomes. So trastuzumab has become the standard of care in adjuvant, and there is a huge difference between the outcome, disease-free survival, with the trastuzumab and without trastuzumab. That is beyond doubt, and this is the final thing. Although multiple agents have come up in adjuvant, neoadjuvant, apart from trastuzumab, there is pertuzumab, TDM1, lapatinib, margetuximab. So there are 4 or 5 molecules. So issue comes question: what is the optimal sequencing? Which one to use upfront before surgery, and which one whether we should change after surgery or not? So all these issues are there with the availability of so many molecules. Yeah, this is a pictorial presentation of the multiple HER2 targeted therapies. We know about the trastuzumab, pertuzumab. Pertuzumab acts causes a dimerization of HER2 and HER3 before acting downstream. And downstream we come, and there are 3 small molecule TKIs which are acting through this HER2, that are which we since last I believe more than 10 years. and now recent is coming up neratinib and so another molecular antibodies are TDM1, which we are using quite oftenly, and second is TDXT, which is coming up in coming datas. So these are three newer molecule of this margetuximab, neratinib, tucatinib, and TDXD. Yeah, this is again very good summarization of all the newer drugs which are approved in the adjuvant setting. First is neratinib. Neratinib, we should be aware that is approved for extended adjuvant treatment. Patient has undergone for the standard treatment with the HER2 like trastuzumab for 1 year, and after that some high risk patient we can give for extended adjuvant neratinib. So that has been approved since last 3 years back, and trastuzumab pertuzumab in combination has been approved as a new adjuvant based on, I believe, Neosphere data, and adjuvant treatment of the same whosoever are at high risk of recurrence. TDM1 in adjuvant if there is a residual disease after new adjuvant chemotherapy. Yeah, this is a very good proposed strategy for the managing early breast cancer, early to locally advanced, which this picture will be discussed quite oftenly in most of the CME for early breast cancer locally advanced. That means in early stage we go for surgery, trastuzumab standard for 1 year, assess the risk of preference, and if T2 or N1, so neoadjuvant is the preferred one. So it is trastuzumab, pertuzumab along with chemotherapy. If there is some residual disease, then it is better to give the TDM1 for another 14 cycle. If further high risk category, then neratinib for extended adjuvant, as I said earlier also. If there is a pathological CR, then there is no need of changing of the even HER2 agent. We can continue with the trastuzumab and pertuzumab for 1 year. So there is not required to change the HER2 targeted therapy. If there is a residual after NSCT, we can change the TDM1. So high risk they have taken for neoadjuvant. There is a different criteria: age less than 35, grade 3, hormone receptor negative or multifocal. So these 4 category as a neoadjuvant treatment, they have taken these as a high risk category, where we need to give her clone for 1 year at least. So if we talk about advanced first line, trastuzumab, pertuzumab, taxane. Second line, we know that TDM1 in the adjuvant, first line or second line. Afterwards, we are left with these options. Practically, we were using lapatinib and lapziloda as of now, but we have TDXD, tucatinib, neratinib, although these are not available as of now, and some other options with the hormone treatment. Now, with these options, we should be aware about the adverse event. Trastuzumab, we all know, cardiac toxicity is there, but it is not very common. It's rare. Infusion reaction also not common. Diarrhea, negligible. Neratinib, again, diarrhea and rash, like all other TKI, is very common. And drug interaction is also important over here to understand for neratinib particularly. Like we are very tuned to give PPIs in lot of patients, so we should keep in mind while giving neratinib. For TDM1, thrombocytopenia is there, LFT alteration are definitely seen. So particularly regarding TDXD, trastuzumab deruxtecan, they have given ILD management. There are some recommendation how to manage these ILD if the patient on TDXD developed ILD. We'll skip this because yeah. So we are more concerned in today's CME about newer data which were discussed in ASCO virtual meeting 2020. So locally, regional and adjuvant breast cancer update. So this is the trial, that is Catalin study. Idea behind this trial was usually our patients are very problematic with the peripheral neuropathy after taxane paclitaxel use, which we are very commonly using in breast cancer patients. So idea was to omit the taxane and to give TDM1 instead of taxane in the adjuvant setting for high risk HER2 positive early breast cancer. This was phase 3 study, Kathleen. However, conclusion was not very good, remarkable. They have just shown the non-inferior trial, and still standard of care. We can continue to use taxane along with trastuzumab and pertuzumab. So we can discuss a little bit in detail. So background for this trial, that chemotherapy plus HER2 targeted therapy followed by continued HER2 target is the standard of care. We all know that up to 1 year we give. And despite that, we know that some patients still recur, up to 15% patient still recur or die within 5 to 6 years. Treatment with taxane associated with toxicity of neuropathy and febrile neutropenia. So that was the aim of this phase 3 Catalin trial. So this is the treatment schema. After surgery, patient were randomized into two arms. Anthracycline AC in both arm was given, and we know 4 AC, 4 TH. So one arm was 4 THP, P is pertuzumab. In second experimental arm was TDM1 plus pertuzumab. So K stands for Kadcyla and pertuzumab, KP, for around 1 year. So then they were kept on follow-up. And very good number of patients were taken in both arms, roughly around 900 patients were taken. And follow-up was also very, very long. It was roughly around 5 years or so. Co-primary endpoint was invasive disease-free survival in the node positive and intention to treat population. They have divided into two groups. Node positive, they analyze separately, and intention to treat population. And there are some statistical juggle with which they have come out with these four subtypes. Invasive disease-free survival in node positive, and in intention to treat, and OS also in both group. Baseline characteristic was very well balanced in both arm. Standard of care and experimental. If we talk about is different racial distribution, performance status, and these nodal status, like more than 4 positive lymph nodes were there in 34% in the standard, and here in experimental arm also was 34.1%. Regarding hormone receptor positivity, 60% were almost positive in both arms and 40% were negative. Anthracycline was used in both, so quite well balanced both arms in terms of distribution of chemotherapy also. And if you talk about the end result, invasive disease-free survival in node positive, no difference. Curve are merging almost, even starting from the 1 year to 2 year, 3 year, 5 year. So we are seeing 3 year invasive disease-free survival 94% here and 92%, not a statistically good difference in both of these arms. So quite similar. Intention to treat population also quite similar. No difference as such. Different subgroup analysis wise, if you see the multiple node positive, higher the node positive, more than 4 or equal to 4, not much difference, not a quite significant. So experimental arm Kadcyla was slightly better, so better than the HP. Hormone receptor negative, again quite similar both arm. So different part of the world also quite similar, although some areas showing benefit in favor of Kadcyla, some are showing benefit in favor of pertuzumab. So this was a treatment exposure, that how many patients have completed the treatment arm. In experimental arm, we see 65% patients were able to complete the 18 cycle, and some with the switching over to pertuzumab because of toxicity with the Kadcyla. Safety overview, more or less quite well tolerable both arm. No major side effect profile, no different as such in both arm. And conclusion of this trial was this trial did not meet its primary endpoint, which was expected, like we can avoid taxane. So AC followed by KP did not demonstrate quite significant improvement in IDFS compared to AC followed by THP. So safety profile was consistent with the prior experience. There was a low risk of deterioration quality of life in the AC-KP arm on the other hand. So adjuvant trastuzumab, pertuzumab and chemotherapy. Chemotherapy means 4AC followed by 4T. which is the standard as of now, it's still standard of care for patients with high risk HER2 positive early breast cancer. That is the bottom line after this trial. So second trial which was discussed in locally advanced was the TRAIN 2 trial. Uh, this was slightly positive trial in the outcome, and the idea of this trial was earlier was to omit the taxane, and this trial is whether we can avoid the anthracycline or not in high risk carcinoma breast patients, because we are giving anthracycline, trastuzumab, slightly higher chances of cardiac toxicity. So whether we can avoid anthracycline or not. So this was a phase 3 trial, that is TRAIN 2, and this has got 3-year follow-up of the neoadjuvant chemotherapy with or without anthracycline in the presence of dual HER2 blockade. Dual HER2 blockade, we know that has become the standard, trastuzumab and pertuzumab. Although we are using sometimes trastuzumab only because of logistic, because of cost, financial constraint in many patients. So, but scientifically wise, we see trastuzumab, pertuzumab in combo has become the standard of care in the neoadjuvant as well as in the adjuvant setting. So this was randomization 1:1, 3 FACT pertuzumab followed by 6 PTC pertuzumab, and here instead of FACT they have used the PTC only, 3 cycle. So this was the experimental arm where they have used paclitaxel only. Although this has become 9 cycle, but paclitaxel was used only day 1 and day 8. It was not day 15. So primary endpoint was PATH-CR, secondary endpoint was toxicity or recurrence-free survival and OS, definitely. And PATH-CR, if we are seeing with the experimental arm, it's almost similar, 68% versus 67%, not much difference. On follow-up, it is an established surrogate marker, we know that as of now. Anthracycline-free regimen have shown similar long-term efficacy as the anthracycline-containing regimen. So we can say that anthracycline-free regimen is an option. We can avoid anthracycline. And treatment characteristic, we are comparing in both arms, that whosoever has gone for breast conserving surgery, mastectomy, no surgery, chemo, endo, radio. So they were very well balanced in both arms. There was no discrepancy as such regarding stage and grade and nodal status also. And event-free survival, similar, almost similar. If we see the subgroup analysis wise, stage, nodal wise, forest plot is also showing the all the dots are diamond marks are in the center line. All patients center line. So both arms are quite similar. That without anthracycline we are able to achieve the good result. Yeah, this is shown by the nodal status wise, almost similar. Overall survival similar. DFS by the PCR is similar. So conclusion of this trial was also after 3 years there was a no EFS, event-free survival, OS benefit for an anthracycline containing regimen in stage 2 and stage 3 HER2 positive breast cancer. So addition of anthracycline increases the risk of febrile neutropenia and cardiac toxicity. So our next step should be how we can further de-escalate the chemotherapy. Right. So these were the 2 trials which were discussed at length in this ESCO. Another 2 trials are for metastatic breast cancer, which have been discussed. One is HER2 CLIMB, and another is FOIBE, that is Chinese trial. And then we'll stop. So first trial is HER2 CLIMB. This is very important and very interesting study for those patients who have developed the brain metastasis. We know that HER2 positive breast cancer are somehow more prone to develop brain metastasis at some point of time, either treatment naive or after treatment or during treatment. So they have tried the newer molecule tucatinib versus placebo added to the trastuzumab capecitabine for patients who previously treated metastatic MBC with the brain metastasis. So that is HER2 CLIMB study, and this was the treatment schema. Up to half of the patient with HER2 positive may develop brain metastasis, up to 50%. This is very important point to keep in mind. So very good number. Tucatinib is an oral TKI recently approved by FDA, which is highly active for kinase domain of HER2 with minimal inhibition of EGFR. Side effect profile may be less as compared to lapatinib. We know lapatinib we are using routinely, and this is a newer TKI which we can use instead of lapatinib or after, I don't know, after lapatinib or not, but instead of lapatinib. So HER2 MBC was taken and 2:1 randomization was done. Placebo arm tucatinib with the trastuzumab and capecitabine is standard doses, 300 milligram twice a day. And if we see the primary analysis wise, progression-free survival was reduced. Risk of progression of death was reduced by 46%. That was the advantage. Overall survival was also superior. Risk of death was reduced by 34%, and with brain metastasis also, risk of progression was reduced by 52%. So more benefit in terms of number in patients with the brain metastasis. Yeah, this is a Kaplan-Meier curve graph. We can see the blue one is the for tucatinib, and it is quite separate graph from the very early, like 6-month period or even 3-month period. We see graph are being separated, and it is more and more separated at 1 year, and moreover this separation is being maintained even throughout up to 2 years also. So if we see at 1 year, at 12 month, progression-free survival is roughly around 25% with tucatinib and 0% with the placebo arm. So good difference of 25% with the tucatinib. Median progression-free survival 5.4 months versus 7.6 months. So baseline characteristic with the both experimental arm, we see the patients who have metastatic at the initial, 40% patients were having initially, and 70% have received prior radiotherapy. Whole brain RT was given to 40%. Focused RT was given to around 46%. Prior surgery for 10 to 15%. So all variety of modality were given to the brain metastasis in both arms. Right, either surgery, local RT, full brain RT, or without RT. So all were taken into account and analyzed separately also. So with brain metastasis, they are already showing good efficacy in the CNS PFS benefit. So here curve is different. That was the previously which we were discussing, overall progression-free survival. Here this curve is showing the progression in the brain, intracranial response rate basically. So 40% are showing the 1 year CNS progression-free survival with tucatinib, 0% with the placebo arm. So good difference with the this experimental one. And even with the active brain metastasis, 35% difference as compared to the placebo arm. So OS benefit also quite separate curves, 46% with the placebo. Placebo means those patients are on trastuzumab and capecitabine, and 70% with the tucatinib and these two combinations. Even with the stable brain metastasis, they are showing the persistent benefit. Like we can see that with the stable brain metastasis, patients are having median OS up to 16 months, so roughly around 1.5 years with the stable brain metastasis with this newer drug. Intracranial response rate, we can see 47% with this newer drug versus 20% with the trastuzumab and capecitabine. So this graph they are showing somewhat with the local therapy and the patients who were continuing the study treatment, first CNS progression to second progression or death. So mainly the patients who have been on this treatment for long, so this consistent benefit in the intracranial response is being maintained even up to second progression. This is a very good bar chart which can show. Purple one is the for the placebo and blue one is the experimental that tucatinib with triple drug regime. And there is a huge difference between two. Consistent benefit even beyond 2 years, they are showing the persistent benefit in the brain. So, in conclusion of this was addition of tucatinib to the trastuzumab and capecitabine doubled the intracranial response rate, reduced the risk of CNS progression of death by 2/3, and reduced the risk of death by nearly half. CNS PFS results represents a delay in progression in the brain. So, it is the first TKI tucatinib to demonstrate prolongation of OS also in the HER2 MBC with the brain metastasis patients. So, the conclusion. So last trial to discuss in this talk is Phoebe trial. This is Chinese trial, and newer molecule is pyrotinib, and this has they have compared with the standard of care which we are using, lapatinib, Lapziloda, lapatinib and capecitabine in HER2 MBC. Although we are using in the second, obviously second line or third line or even fourth line setting, this lapatinib and capecitabine. So in the background, we all know that multiple HER2 targeted agents are there. Depending on affordability or patient profile, we use this Lapziloda. So pyrotinib is a small molecule irreversible pan-RB receptor TKIs targeting EGFR, HER2 and HER4. And this combination have shown clinical meaningful benefit in the phase 1 or phase 2. Therefore, phase 3 trial was conducted, that is Phoebe trial. And this was experimental arm, and 400 milligram once a day pyrotinib with standard dose of capecitabine was given. Primary endpoint was progression-free survival, and secondary were OS and safety profile. So 267 patients were randomized, and 50-50 distribution was done in both arms. And baseline characteristic was also comparatively equal, like performance status. They have taken 0 to 1, not 2 or 3, up to 1 only. And hormone receptor, both positive and negative, were taken. Metastatic sites, visceral versus non-visceral, were taken into account. And resistance to prior trastuzumab were also taken. This criteria, whether there was resistance or not. 28% were having resistance, and in roughly both arms, 70 were not having resistance. So there is a very good definition of resistance to prior trastuzumab. Like we used to have a definition of hormone resistant refractory from some trial. So it is written in below the one line definition of this resistance. The patients who have relapsed within 6 months after adjuvant trastuzumab, right? They have completed 1 year at trastuzumab. Then after 6 month gap, they recur, relapse. So that is one definition. Another is if patient is on trastuzumab treatment for metastatic, and within 3 months of treatment they progress. So these two definitions are for trastuzumab refractory. And previous line of chemotherapy or metastatic disease were taken into account, either first line, second line. So 2 lines, up to 2 lines were considered in this pyrotinib and lapatinib trial arms. So primary endpoint of progression-free survival, they have shown very, very clearly separated curve in this presentation of Kaplan-Meier. Pyrotinib is showing 12.5 month progression-free survival as compared to 6.8 month with the lapatinib combination. And PFS consistency wise, we are saying it is being maintained up to 1.5 years. Subgroup analysis, if you see trastuzumab therapy less than 3 months for metastatic, resistance wise, whether there was resistance or no resistance, right, metastatic site visceral or non-visceral, hormone receptor wise, positive or negative, all the parameters we take into account, but all parameters are showing benefit in favor of pyrotinib. So pyrotinib was better than lapatinib, far, far better than lapatinib in so many subgroup analysis. Response rate, we know lapatinib is showing 50% overall response rate, and it's showing 67%. And duration of response is also very prolonged, 11 months. OS, 1 year OS, 91% with pyrotinib, 77% with the lapatinib and capecitabine. So if you talk about adverse event profile, definitely we have some serious adverse event, 10% with the pyrotinib, 8% with lapatinib, and some patients do have treatment interruption in between to dose reduction, and some patients, very few patients have treatment discontinuation. About 1.5% in this experimental, no one in the lapatinib. We know that most of the patients do tolerate either 5 tablets or lapatinib or 4 tablets, and death was not seen in this trial because of adverse event. So most common grade 3 treatment related Diarrhea is the problem here. Some roughly 30% have pyrotinib. So we should manage the diarrhea with the probiotic or some other drugs. Hand foot syndrome is quite similar with the lapatinib, roughly around 15%. So diarrhea with pyrotinib combined therapy, there is low severity, early onset, short duration, reversibility, seldom leading to treatment termination. So that is the concern. Definitely there is a concern of diarrhea, higher percentage have diarrhea, but primary prophylaxis or some, it was not pre-specified, but further trial may include the pre-specified conditions, sort of like they have taken into neratinib trials, I believe, and into account earlier only. So maybe this then this may be well tolerable drug pyrotinib. And conclusion of this FOIBE trial was that in this phase 3 study involving patients with HER2 MBC after taxane or anthracycline, which was a standard, pyrotinib plus capecitabine as compared with lap capecitabine significantly prolonged the PFS by 5.7 months, 12.5 versus 6.8 months, which met the criteria for statistically significant. OS data were not mature. So they have shown the manageable safety profile. No new safety signal was found. So this combination was approved as second standard of care for metastatic HER2 positive breast cancer in China. In China, not by the WHO or FDA as of now. So thank you overall. Thanks for patience listening. I think we have discussed these 4 newer trials which will be discussed quite frequently in many